You are listening to an Atomic Broadcasting production, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation. And remember, do your part, such as like, comment, rate, and don't forget to tell a friend to tune in for an Atomic Time.
We begin in a small tavern full of working class folk, all laughing, drinking, talking, having a good time. There's a young woman, carrying a tray with some tankards and food on it as she passes by our view. And we see in the background there is a dwarf whose dark mane of hair and beard are streaked with the first hints of gray. A large brass ornament bearing a green gemstone is threaded into his beard at the chin. As the camera kind of pivots around him, he's like, "Another!" And the bartender hands him another drink, and the camera continues like orbiting around him. And we see kind of in the background, not really standing out, only the most astute observer would notice, there seems to be a figure watching this dwarf. Michael, what does this figure look like?
Upon first inspection, the figure is cloaked, so you can't see much, but you can see some nice polished shoes poking out from underneath the cloak, with a slight hint of a silver button-down shirt coming through the chest area. You can see a slight, quite a grin on the bottom of the face, but he's very covered in shadow, so that's what you can see at the moment.
And this is your character, Zephear?
This is Zephear.
So Zephear is here at this tavern watching this dwarf because he is his most recent mark. So we'll get into the details of why he's your mark in a moment. But my question for you now is, how do you want to go about completing your task?
Definitely not here.
Of course.
I'm assuming I've spent the last good amount of time observing, seeing how long he might spend here, what he does before. How long would I have been observing him at this point?
Maybe up to a couple days, depending on your methods.
Okay, so I would know maybe what he does, his leisure time, his work, his where he stays. At the moment, I'm just sitting with my hands kind of triangled in front of my face, watching, but not too intently. I may get up and possibly go to the bartender, the woman who was walking around.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'm going to get up, and at this point, nothing else really comes into play except his black slacks that you can see kind of poking out. He's still covered, but a little bit less, so he's not so conspicuous walking through a brightly lit tavern with a hood on. But you can see his face is grayish, and he has some slightly intimidating yet kind dark red eyes. And for those out there needing an image, if we're okay to give our actor roles,
I think we're okay.
It would look very similar to the dashing Alan Cumming. But he's going to nonchalantly walk up to the lady dishing out drinks, and does she see me?
Yeah, she notices you as you're walking up. So, like, she turns and she's like, "Oh, can I get you anything?" And you've met her before because you've been kind of at this tavern watching your target. This is, her name is Dane Martin. She's in her, late teens, early 20s age. And, from some brief conversations with her, that she's been working at this tavern, since childhood. She's just kind of grown up into it.
Excuse me, Dane.
Yes, what can I get for you?
Well, I've actually had enough to drink at the moment. I'm just, enjoying the sights. I was wondering, that, dwarf over there, he seems quite eager. How many drinks has he had?
Oh, well, I mean, just one or two. I don't know. It's not really my business.
Well, I mean, it is your business. You run the business. Sorry, I didn't mean to get heated there. I was wondering if you knew what he was drinking. I may not be wanting a drink, but he seems to enjoy what he has.
And here I told myself I didn't have to prepare a signature drink for this tavern.
Oh, what was the tavern called?
The tavern is called the Cheery Martin. You would know from your time in this area that the Cheery Martin has been through multiple changes in ownership, like rapidly over time. It's been a series of it's been a source of amusement for the locals in the area because different investors from out of town will be like, oh, what a great place to open a tavern. And they'll buy it and they'll start, getting the tavern up and running. And then they're kind of just driven out by the locals, miners, and everybody who's just like, this is our town. We don't really put much stock in outsiders and stuff like that. But the funny part is all of the wait staff and the people who actually run the tavern has been consistent over the years. So it's just been whoever owns the establishment cycles out almost yearly.
How long have I been in town?
Here in Copperburget, you probably have been in town for maybe a few weeks. It hasn't really been where you've been your base area of residence or your base of operations. But there is work for a person in your line of business here in a rough and tough sort of mining town.
Mining town. I guess I should have asked about that. Mining town.
Oh, yes. I forgot to mention. You are in Copperburget. It is a massive open pit copper mine that establishes much of the wealth for Southmoor, the kingdom itself. It is actually owned, though, by a king that's one kingdom up to the north on the other side of the Gringir Forest. He actually won it from the previous king of Southmoor. So even though the mine itself is in Southmoor, most of the proceeds go further north to the next kingdom over. It's run by a clan of dwarves and is well renowned for the 2 stone golems who guard the entrance to Copperburget and the team of clockwork golems that guard the inner shafts and tunnels of the mines.
Don't mind me. I just wrote it was run by a clan of doors.
Doors.
As I believe you said because the golems were guarding the doors.
Ah, yes.
Did you figure out what he was drinking?
After this relation of the surrounding area, I believe that he is drinking a local liquor that's made out of the specific type of barley that grows in this the terraced farms in this high altitude area.
Thank you. I appreciate the hard work you've done, Dane. Is it all right if I continue sitting in that corner? It's not going to alarm anybody.
Of course. No, you're welcome.
I like to keep to myself, but make sure you come by every once in a while and make sure I don't need any mozzarella sticks.
Of course. I'll come by and check if you need any more of our signature dish of mozzarella sticks.
Yes. Anyway, I'm going to go sit back down,
and as I do, I'm going to pass by the table just slightly, and the table where the dwarf is sitting. What is his name, by the way?
His name is Odun Svarson.
Nice. Odun Svarson. I am going to pass by the table and just give his table a quick sniff to see if I can see how much alcohol is on his breath, where he has been most of the rest of the day, and what time is it? I guess not from the smell, but I just part of that line of thinking.
So in order, from your smelling,
I smell at 6 o'clock.
you learn that he's had a few drinks. He doesn't seem like plastered, but he's definitely not just taking a quick drink and heading home. He's getting a few in. Let's see, where did he come from? He's come directly from the mines, and you can tell that just by like there's plenty of like dirt, dust, and stuff all on his boots and lower pants. It looks like he kind of just like washed off his hands, dusted himself off, and came into the tavern. Okay. And from your excellent nose, you know that it's roughly 4 p.m.
My nose is great. You've seen Alan coming, right? You knows his nose is well shaped. That's just going to be this entire reference, by the way. So I'm going to sit back down, kind of look off, every once in a while glance his direction. But as I see if he starts to wind down a little bit, I'm going to use message. And I'm going to look at him. And as you know, message says something as if the person is right next to you. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to whisper in his ear.
Meet me outside in 10 minutes.
So as he receives this message in his ear, as if you were standing next to him, he just kind of looks around a little bit, like trying to figure out where that came from, and then like pulls his cloak a little closer and just kind of hunches over. He doesn't seem to have looked in your direction yet, because he's kind of sitting, kind of off, crooked angled, so not exactly with his back to you, but maybe like a 45-degree angle.
I chose a very strategic spot to sit.
It's
as
a good
I do
spot
in
for
most
watching.
In most establishments, I try not to sit where people can look at me, at least to their back or my back to them. No, it would be the other way around. I want to keep an eye on people. Anyway, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to move towards the door slowly, not too quickly as to arouse suspicion, but I'm going to head to the door and kind of round the corner. But I'm going to then take my eyes off of him as I step out the door, and I stand next to the wall that is to the left of the door. Outside.
Gotcha. And outside it is a gray day. Like the sun is already beginning to set behind some of the more northern peaks on the west side, because you're kind of in the lower portion of the mountains. So not exactly in the foothills. You're actually up in the mountains a ways. So in the little bit of the valley where this mine is set, the sunrise and sunset are a little bit later and earlier in the day, respectively. So although it's 4, there's already like the sun's starting to go down behind some of the peaks, and it's kind of starting to turn into a sort of overcast gray in the town.
It's almost like daylight saving time.
Almost. For your reference, it is early March.
Early March. As I'm standing out here waiting for him to exit, possibly, if he does, after I gave him a very frightening message. Oh, were you done with the description?
Yeah.
I am going to ponder and think, why am I doing this again? Who was the person who asked, and why is he my mark?
What an excellent question, because I was just getting ready to do a flashback, and as the camera sort of gets all wavy and there's a rippling harp sound, we fade back to a few days previously when you were talking with your hiring guy. There's a word for that.
I'm just
your
writing hiring guy.
Who had asked you to do this task for him. So we find ourselves now in this same tavern, but now sitting at that same table, across from where we were seeing Zephear at the beginning of all of this, is another dwarf, a copper-haired dwarf of a tall and slight build. This build, combined with his uncommonly wispy beard, has led rise to the rumors that he is not a full-blooded dwarf. You know him as Dolvin Erickson. He works as a foreman in the Copper Burget mine. over a shift of dwarves that works on the northeastern portion of the mine.
Are we jumping into this as a flashback, or is it a real-time flashback?
Oh, aye. We're jumping right into this flashback, laddie.
Oh, it's a real-time flashback. I
It's
like
real time.
These are the coolest.
Yes.
I love these, especially in games when you get to interact with them and make your own memories.
Aye, and hopefully this jumping back in time won't make the glimpse of the future we've already had incongruous in our minds.
If I die in this meeting, it is your fault. So, Dolvin, I appreciate you meeting me here. What is it you will have me do?
Well, I've heard, and don't get offended if I heard wrong, but I heard that you're the sort who can fix problems.
Well, it depends on what you decide fixing means. I guess you're right.
Maybe it also depends on the types of problems. And he kind of glances around, making sure nobody's listening. I got people problems.
People problem, well, don't we all?
I got myself. I got a sister. She's as fair as the sun. She's a kind-hearted soul, and she wouldn't do anyone a lick of harm. But that no good dwarf she married, Odin Svarson, he's a useless... Takes a swig of his drink.
It's all right, it's all right.
He's good for nothing. He don't treat her right, and I won't stand by and let her life be ruined by the likes of him.
And so you want me to fix, in your terms, this issue by doing what?
Well, they say marriage is a lifelong commitment, so I'd like for you to make that commitment come to an end.
Very well worded. I appreciate jobs that are well worded. So, would you like him, and this is just standard procedure for my line of work, would you like him to know before he expires why he is expiring?
I don't care what you do. Once the brute's dead, he's dead. If it makes you feel better, you can let him know, but I don't want to get in the way of a job well done.
Now, let me ask this before committing. Are there any children involved?
Oh, thanks the gods, no. She'll be free to move on from him once he's gone.
And you're not, how do I put this? You don't have feelings for your sister, do you?
What do you take me for?
A kindly brother who loves family. What did you think I meant?
Yeah, you got a sense of humor like a miner.
Yeah, well, I've been around, I guess. We all pick up some humor from other places. It's kind of part of the job. We have to learn. Anyway, what kind of pay would you be offering for this?
10 gold pieces, 5 up front. 10 gold pieces, 5 up front, 5 when the job's done. And he tosses you a sack of gold.
Well, first of all, it sounded like your tongue got tangled with the 10 gold, but I will gladly accept your offer.
I pull my hand out and grab the bag and slide. Ooh, I have a bag.
That was so immersive.
Sound effects. Felt immersive.
I accept your offer, and would you like me to report back to you, or will the results speak for themselves? Oh yes, how would I get the pay? Well, I guess we could make a meeting of some sort. You leave it under a mat and I come find it.
It might be best for us to have a chat after, make sure it's done right.
All right. Would you like to meet at this same establishment or somewhere else?
He looks around a little bit. It's a lot later in the day for this first meeting than it was when we first saw you in the tavern. It's quieter. There's a couple of people. It's already dark outside, and he's like, this feels like the right sort of place for a person like you and a person like me to talk of the such things as going to be done.
All right, well, then come meet me here in...
How long did you say it was since this flashback?
Few days.
A few days.
Mhm.
Come back here in a week, and I'll have the job done. At this time.
Right. And Dolvin, like, breathes in heavily and just drains the last of his glass. And he's like, "You've taken quite a weight off my mind."
Don't worry. Your problem will be fixed. I take a sniff of the air and think, it's later in the day, isn't it?
It smells like it's about 8 o'clock.
It smells like 8. You'd think I'd have time sense, but no, just a good nose.
I would love if you took that cantrip that lets you know what time it is.
I thought about it, but I didn't know if it was going to come in handy in the slightest.
I don't know if it will, but it's beautiful.
Can I just have an extra cantrip for that?
Maybe if things turn out okay.
Okay, I'm sure it will.
I don't see this man as a problem at all. Well, he's a problem in the girl's life. Oh, I should have asked what the sister's name was.
Can I retcon that? As he's standing up, I say,
What is your sister's name?
Irene.
Irene.
see all these things that you thought of to put in the story, I have to make sure and get out of you so it, comes to use.
Right, because I thought of that before we started.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Dolvin adjusts his cloak around his shoulders, puts up his hood, and could you give me a perception check?
Yes. Where's perception at? There it is. +3. Okay, so 15.
So that is a success. And you notice from your experience of working with people that he's trying to kind of conceal how shaken he is over all of this. You've worked with clients before. You know the people who are like, I just want this guy dead and I don't care. You can tell this guy's kind of putting on a front. You don't get the sense that he's lying about the job. You get more like the sense that he's lying about how he feels about the job.
Oh. Well, you've just given me a lot more thought. I don't like that.
Excuse me, Dolvin.
Yeah?
Is it you that has decided this? This isn't, your sister's idea, is it?
No, she knows nothing of it. If it were up to her, she'd be slaving away for his whims for the rest of her life.
What about the rest of your family? This isn't, something that somebody put you up to, right?
No, the rest of her family's off in the Five Kings Mountains, hundreds of miles distant. They don't know a thing about this.
And you're sure this is what you want?
Right, I'm sure. What other sort of solution is there for a situation like this?
Well, I mean, I could always incapacitate him in a way rather than completely removing.
Nah, he'll come back. He'll just come back meaner and harder. Look, do you want the gold or not?
Oh, yes, I mean, I don't necessarily need it, but I want to make sure that things turn out in the most positive of ways for those who want the jobs done. I don't want to jump to conclusions because sometimes that could end up tearing people apart.
He kind of leans in close, a little bit unsteadily, perhaps, and he's like, the only tearing apart that's being done is tearing apart my sister's future.
All right. It shall be done. We won't need to speak of it anymore. I appreciate your time and your gold. I'll speak with you in a week.
I appreciate your professionalism. And he gives you a nod and heads towards the door.
I nod as well, whether or not he saw it.
And as we kind of camera stays on your face as you're watching him leave, the background kind of just melts. And we find you once again standing outside the tavern, waiting.
I give a good sniff. Still around 4.
It's 4:03. It was a 3-minute flashback.
Man, I was lost in thought forever. Well, I guess I did give him 10 minutes. What am I going to do for 10 minutes?
Almost enough time to refocus.
If I had used a focus spell.
I spell strike in the middle.
As you're standing there waiting, you kind of feel a presence, perhaps. Like you're not alone, kind of feel like eyes on you kind of thing.
I'm going to look around.
As you're looking around, you kind of feel like a sense of like you shouldn't.
That I
as
shouldn't
you're
look
turning
around.
Mm-hmm.
I hesitantly... I don't turn my head, but I'll, pull my eyes to the side and see if anything in that peripheral is visible.
So as you kind of like glance to the side, and there's just that kind of feeling of unease, in one of the alleyways nearby, you feel like you catch the glimpse of like a pale face wearing some kind of like a hat that's just kind of staring out of the darkness in the alleyway at you, but like, just kind of out of the corner of your eye. And as you like reflexively look more directly at it to see what was that I just saw, all you see is just the darkness of the alley.
I'm going to quickly dash in front of the alley, still keep my eyes on the door of the tavern, but go past the alley to the next kind of front, and see if, just get out of the line of sight of possibility of what it was in the darkness, if I can.
Gotcha. So you're going across the street to a different angle, so whatever's in that alley has to poke out and around to see you?
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. So you do that, and as you're doing that, you're kind of realizing that, like, this feels really familiar. And, like, kind of like, that, like, visceral childhood fear of the dark? And it's just kind of coming back in a wave, and you're like, I've not really felt afraid of the dark in a long time. You're the kind of thing that the things that fear the dark are afraid of.
I am the dark. I am what you should be afraid of in the dark. Not myself.
And the more you're kind of like trying to like think about like, what was that? What I just see? The more you're feeling like, have you seen that face before somewhere?
Can you describe the face, or was it too quick of a glance?
Yeah, it was a really quick glance, but it was a pale, gaunt face with, was it a smile? Was it a grimace? The mouth was open in some kind of like expression, but it was really hard to tell just in like the deep shadow. And the hat was like, it's not a kind of hat that people up here in the north wear. You'd kind of seen it from some visitors from like Andoran and Cheliax, kind of like a nobility kind of hat. Us Americans would recognize it more as like a top hat.
Okay, I was imagining a Hamburglar hat, so I'm glad that you specified.
Yes, the Hamburglar was sitting in the alley.
Well, he doesn't have the most pale face.
It's true.
Goodness. I don't want to be rushing around the alley, or not around the alley, but rushing around the street, drawing attention to myself. Is there any movement coming from the door?
As you glance back, that's the moment when Odun Svarson steps out of the tavern.
Okay. Now, I can't remember. Did I tell him to meet me around back or...
Just outside.
Outside. As I see him walk out the door, I'm going to message to him in a direct line, say,
"Meet me in the alley.
We're going to figure this out together."
And this time he like looks around. There's not a lot of people, and he sees you staring at him. And he kind of like draws up straight, like he's not sure if he's going to fight, if he's going to yell, if he's going to run. He's just kind of like standing at attention, and then he kind of wavers a little bit on his feet, and then just like adjusts his cloak and nods and starts heading towards the alley with you.
Okay. I'm going to follow behind. Getting a little worried. I don't know how I'm going to do this exactly. You'd think I'd have a plan.
I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, dwarf.
You You look so ready in your drunken stupor, but I'm standing here thinking, did I just see a face? Oh crap, I gotta kill this guy. How am I gonna do it? Yeah. So I'm slowly walking. Does he have his back to me, or?
So you're closer to the alley right now than he is.
Okay.
So he's heading towards you to go to the alley.
All right. I'm going to duck down inside of the alley and try to hide within the shadows.
Gotcha.
As you said, it was quite dark.
Oh, it's quite dark. I mean, for someone like you and your line of work, it takes almost no effort to hide yourself in these shadows.
Perfect. Do I need to roll for that, or just
Do you want
assume
to
I'm
be
stealthy?
technically hidden from him?
I would like to be technically hidden from him.
Okay. I will make a secret stealth roll for you.
Oh, okay.
What is your stealth bonus?
My stealth is +6. Okay.
So you go around the corner and there's like a few crates and stuff, and you kind of like duck behind some of these crates and obscure yourself among the shadows. And a few moments later, you kind of, the light that's coming around the corner is kind of blocked out, and, you know, a shadow's cast into the alleyway as Odun Sparson enters the alley.
I'm going to ready my dagger.
Okay. And he begins kind of staggering down the alleyway a little bit, but just as he's about to pass the crates where you're hiding behind, he kind of just comes to a stop and starts kind of looking around. Where are you?
So he's facing my direction?
He is facing directly, like, parallel to you. So, like, if he looked exactly to his right, you'd be right there.
Well, then I'm going to try to make a surprise jump at him and give him the old stab.
All right. So go ahead and make a melee strike against his flat-footed AC.
That is a 16 overall.
And that's a hit. So how do you come flying out of these shadows with your dagger?
I jump out as gracefully as possible, not to hit anything, or I just want to make a straight shot to him, go straight for the side of his neck, and I want to whisper to him, "Dolphin sends his regards." And I'm going to tear in as much as I can.
All right, go ahead and roll damage.
I feel like this is not going to finish him off, but that's 6 total.
All right, so your dagger hits its mark, but like just as you're jumping, he kind of flinches a little bit instinctively. So rather than piercing right through the windpipe and, like, you know, severing important arteries and stuff, it just leaves a nasty gash on the side of his neck as he, like, kind of reels back, and he's like, one hand is trying to, like, ward off this attacker that he can hardly see. The other's kind of like reaching at the wound. He's just like, bloody, what the blessed Desna, what is this?
Is he doing anything else, or can I do another?
At this point, he's just kind of staggering back, but I think we should roll for initiative moving forward.
Okay. 16 plus 6, so 22.
Nice. So you win the initiative, and you go first. At this point, you're going to get an actual full turn and not just one thing to do. So you've got 3 actions.
Okay. Well, my first action that I'm going to do, may I use a spell?
Yes.
I'm still within melee range, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to reach out, and my hand is going to turn into a clawed appendage, and I'm going to use Gouging Claw on him.
All right.
Which is a melee spell attack roll against his AC.
Mm-hmm. So it would be like making a melee roll, but instead of using strength or dexterity as your modifier, you're going to use intelligence.
Which, for some reason here, it says spell attack +5.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Because you have the +2 intelligence modifier and you're trained, so there's a +3.
Right, okay. So I'll just use this, and that gave me a not natural 20.
A regular 20?
No, well, 15 plus 5, 20.
Gotcha. So that is a regular hit, but that was getting close towards a crit.
Right. And now I'll just do damage.
Mm-hmm.
That is 2 plus 2, which is a 4.
Gotcha. So At this point, I will let you know he is bloodied, which means he is at best half health.
I expect him to be very bloody after all that. So that does that, and I have one more action.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to try to hide again. Going to jump back into the shadows if possible. Can that be done with one movement or one action?
All right, so that's a secret stealth check.
Secret stealth.
Yes. So, as you duck around the corner of the crates, you just hear like, oh, yeah, and you see kind of like the shadow that you noticed as Odun was coming into the alleyway, and you get the sense that he's like leaving the alley.
Odun is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, geez, how far can he get before I can move again towards him?
The distance you were able to make it into the alley before all of this started, he's able to use his turn. He's not going very fast, but he's able to use his turn to get close to the exit of the alley. So he's not out yet, but he's getting close.
Okay. Would I have enough movement to move to him from where I'm hiding? And strike.
Yeah, you could use 2 actions to move up, and then you'd have 1 action left to strike.
Okay, then I'll do that if that ends his turn.
Yeah, that's the end of his turn. He's just kind of staggering off, kind of making gurgling noises, and as you come out from the crates, there's like drops of blood heading down the alley towards him.
This was supposed to be clean. Well,
so I do want to just throw out there for your consideration, not trying to change what you're doing at all, but if you want to use a bow, you could probably get off more shots. So you can do whatever you want. I just wanted to throw that out so that it didn't get forgotten. But it's up to you, because then the caveat would be if you don't down him with the bow, then he's that much further away.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And he's almost to the exit, so I don't want to let him leave. That would make it... I'm going to rush him.
All right. So you spend your first 2 actions, you run up to him, and with your final action, you attack him with your dagger, I presume?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That is a 22.
And that is a critical hit.
It's a critical hit. And what does that mean for me?
So you roll all of your damage, and then you double it.
Cool. Okay, so that is 3 plus 3, or is it a 3 doubled plus 3?
So you do all of your normal calculations, and then double.
Okay, then it is a 12 for damage. I wish that had come sooner.
In this very dramatic timing, then, you dart down the alleyway, and just as he's reaching the edge of the alley, how do you finish him off?
I don't want to go for his back, so I reach forward, pull it around the front of his neck, and I whisper to him, in a normal whisper into his ears, "Maybe in the next life, you'll be a better husband."
And you feel a familiar sensation you felt before as, his body convulses a little bit and then just goes limp in your arms.
I'm going to try to drag him back into the alley and hide him behind the crates that I was hiding behind previously.
Easily enough done. You're a professional.
Very good. I'm also going to kind of scuff my shoes on the ground where the blood spatters were to attempt to hide them. Not completely hidden, but I'd prefer it if people don't see it immediately.
Gotcha. As you're doing that, kind of scuffling along the ground and such, you kind of feel like a chill in the air, and like the hair on the back of your neck stands up on end.
I'm going to immediately turn and just survey as much as I can to see if that face is back.
You don't see anything, but you really feel like you should. Like there's a very strong sense of presence. Like you're not alone in this alley, but you don't see anything.
This is a shot in the dark, mind the pun, but I'm going to back up against the wall and close my eyes. And then open them again. Anything?
You still see nothing, but the feeling of like not being alone, there's being something there with you, that's gone, and you just kind of feel like you're in an alley, and there's like immediately like this wave of like feeling a little silly kind of comes over you of like, I am the thing that's scary in this alley.
I'm going to walk deeper into the alley, a little bit further. Is this something that's between buildings? Like there is an end to it?
Yeah, so this is like an alley that's formed out of like the side of like a wall on one end and then like the back of a storehouse on the other.
I'm going to keep going as far as I can and just feel around the wall. I want to make sure that what I'm feeling is not real.
Go ahead and make a perception check.
12.
You're not sure. You don't find anything, but you're also not super confident that you gave it a good search. You're kind of a little bit rushed because you know there's a corpse not far away and you don't want to stick around for too long, but you're not really able to find any concrete evidence either way.
Okay. I'm going to push my hood back up. I don't know if the darkness revealed anything of my image, but I push my hood back up and rush out of the alleyway. Once I get to the end of the alleyway, I'm stopped rushing and I just kind of walk at a slightly less brisk manner. I'm going to go back into the tavern, though, and I'm going to go talk to... crap, what was her name? Dane.
Quick interjection.
Okay.
Since you are a professional. You gashed this guy's neck and then dragged his body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to talk to her about.
Oh, okay. So you re-enter the tavern. It's similarly busy. I mean, it's only been like 15 minutes since you were last in there. Dane notices as you're entering and just kind of stops and like almost drops the tray she's carrying, and she like quickly just sets it down on the nearest table, and she walks up and is like, what happened? What happened?
I'm going to fake a limp and possibly like hold my arm or my neck or something just to show that I'm injured.
I took a step outside in the wrong alley. Do you have anywhere that I can wash up here?
Yes, let me get a bowl and a cloth and some water. But are you all right?
I've been in worse scuffs. I just need to clean up, and then I'll feel fresh. Maybe I'll take one of those famous drinks that our friend was drinking earlier tonight.
Right, of course. I'll be right back. And she apologizes to the people where she set the tray down, takes it off into the back. And
can I hand those drinks to the people?
Well, they weren't for the people.
Oh.
She was just like setting the tray down on the nearest table.
Might as well, you know.
I mean, you can, but
it's like when your DoorDash gets arrested by a cop, the cop delivers the rest of the food. You might as well, you know.
A common occurrence, I presume.
Oh yeah.
So Dane rushes off, and just like a minute or so later, Esmeralda comes out from the back. You've met her once or twice. For all intents and purposes, she runs the place. She may not own it, but she runs it.
She is the Martin runner. Is she a Martin?
She is not.
She's not a Martin.
She's Esmeralda Dulaine. She is a middle-aged woman with dark, frizzy hair and imperious eyes. She wears a scarlet brocade dress that is miraculously clean for her line of work.
Well, I hope to be as clean as her dress.
It just sounded weird.
I'm trying to jump back in, but...
So, Esmeralda, wearing a dress that is as clean as you are not, comes running out of the back of the tavern. And
I keep up the appearances. I'm holding my arm.
She has like some cloths with her, and she like walks up and is like, "Right, what happened?"
Long story short, just walked into the wrong alley. I'm all right. I just need to get cleaned up. There's a lot of blood. You should see the other guy. Most of this is his.
Oh, is he all right?
Oh, he hobbled into another building. I assumed that we didn't want to hobble into the same one. That would be awkward, you know. Have you ever gotten into an alley fight? I didn't think so.
No, but I've had my share of bar fights.
Well, it's a little different because you're in the same bar. It's not like one of you can leave. Anyway, I just need to get cleaned up.
Right, and Dane's grabbing some warm water, and here's some clean cloths. Where are you injured?
Well, I'm not actually sure. I'm just a little bit sore in most places. I'm mostly just dirty. I wouldn't want to trouble you or get your clothing dirty in any way. I can manage on my own. I just, if I could just grab some rags, I'll sit over in the corner and just soak, if that's all right.
Right, well, you've been a good customer these last few days. If you're feeling up to it, up the stairs there's a room on the left. We'll get you a bath drawn.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to hand her 2 of the gold that I was previously paid. I don't know how much gold I have in my pockets, but...
I feel like that's a lot of money.
Well, you handed me 5.
So, 1 gold piece, for reference, is a week's worth of fine dining.
I'm going to give her 2.
Okay, and she's like, this is far too much.
There's a reason why I won the fight. They wanted my gold. I'm not going to act as if I don't have it to spare. So here, you can have this. Thank you for your hospitality. I will go get cleaned up.
Right. And she turns around back to the back room. She's like, Dane, get that bath drawn double quick.
I hobble up the stairs as pathetically as possible. It was up the stairs, right? That's what I'm imagining. You said it was upstairs.
It was.
Okay.
So you head up. The room is nice. Nicer than really should be in a mining town like this. But you know that the Cheerful Martin is a pretty good place. I also wasn't clear because it made sense to me when I was reading. When I say Martin, I mean like the ferret-like creature.
I am unfamiliar.
Okay, so they're like long rodent weasel-like creatures that live up in like the mountainous regions of the world. Like these little guys.
Oh, okay. Kind of like a weasel, but like bigger.
Yeah, so one of these little weasel-like martins is what's pictured on the sign outside, and it's like holding a tankard of ale in one hand and then like waving the other one as it's doing like a little dance.
Nice. I like my weasels drunk. I'm gonna kid. I'd like to investigate the room just to make sure that dark presence is not. It's weighing on me heavily. It feels as if I should be paying attention because that does not seem like something I would be worried about.
So as you're investigating the room, you're kind of looking around, making sure that you are alone, and you are. You feel alone. You don't see anyone else. But as you're like thinking about the presence and your kind of experience with it and everything, it's kind of starting to feel like, I don't know, I kind of mentioned it before, of like just kind of familiar. Mm-hmm. Like it's a bad memory you keep pushing away. But it's like now that it's back again, it's like, wait, I felt this before. What is this?
Or like a dream that I just can't remember.
Yeah, like that.
How long, you said it was March, you didn't say what day. How long would I have to wait until the end of the week to recon with my hiring guy?
Let's say the day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow? Okay, I'm going to try to get as comfortable as possible and just rest a bit.
All right.
Clean my wounds and my blade, and hopefully not get overrun by any weasels. No weasels in my bed, please. I paid top dollar.
A little ways into your relaxation and cleaning up, you hear a scream from outside, a lot of commotion downstairs. Eventually, some guards come up and they want to discuss with you the body that they found not far from the tavern after hearing that you'd staggered in bloodied. What kind of story do you tell them? I'm going to say, for the sake of time and for the sake of making sure that your character ends up where he needs to be, that they believe this story. But what do you tell them?
I tell them that TLDR, I walked out of the building, walked into a darkened alley, ran into this man who seemed very inebriated, and he didn't seem to want to leave, and he started to fight with me, and I protected myself by using my dagger. He was alive and leaving. He was moving towards another building by the time I had left to clean my wounds, but I assume he probably did not make it and stumbled into some crates.
Yeah, so they kind of weigh the evidence, weigh your story, and after some discussion, that you go meet with the magistrate over Copperburget, and they take your story and they accept it, and they're like, yeah, so, they don't really have any reason to say, well, you murdered him, because they can't find any motive, They also have, the evidence that he was definitely inebriated when he left, There are some, a couple of, the guys on the council who are like, there's probably a murderer who killed him and then left and then killed the other guy and left him there.
It's Jack the Ripper, not me. Next to the cheer. You said cheery and cheerful, Martin.
It is the cheery, Martin.
Cheery, right. That's what I wrote. See, notes are nice to have. I can't wait to look back at this and see what a mess it is later. But yeah, am I still at the magistrates, or how do I proceed from there?
I'd say after, towards the end of that second day, they're finished with any, questions they had for you. They're like, yeah, the case is probably closed. We'll let you know if anything comes up. But right now, we're not going to charge you with anything. You're fine. You're free to go.
Cool. That was a great, easy 2 days. So that should be about the time that I need to meet with Dulvin.
Mm-hmm. So night falls. You return back to the Cheery Martin, and you find Dulvin waiting at the prearranged meeting spot. And in front of him, he has the sack of gold, and he's got 1 gold coin that he's kind of balancing on his fingers, and he'll flip and let it roll down until it lands, and he'll pick it up and flip and let it roll until it lands.
Can I tell if that was part of the 5 that was in the bag, or if it's just his?
That would be difficult to tell.
Okay.
You're going to have to give me a smell check.
Smells like 4 o'clock. No, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to be super stealthy, so I'm just going to walk up to him and sit down and say, well, how are things?
A bit better. We're surviving. As you know, there's been a death in the family. And he just kind of gives you a nod.
And how is your sister? I heard that things would change for her.
Oh, she took it hard at first, but I think she's starting to see that there's a future ahead of her.
Well, I don't want to linger, but I noticed you here, and I wanted to make sure that everything was good.
Right. I heard you got a bit scraped up that night.
Oh, don't worry about me. I didn't really even get touched.
I'm a good-hearted man, and I hate to see someone like you go off empty-handed. And he pushes the sack of gold over towards you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Now, is that one that you're holding part of the payment?
Oh, right. And he rolls it across the table to you. Don't mind me, I get a wee bit fidgety.
Don't worry about it.
And I'll grab the bag and take the other piece and put it in the bag.
Well, I wish you the best of life. I hope to never see you again.
Well, about that, I was wondering, you seem to be the sort of man who's good at a variety of tasks.
Some would say.
I'm fixing to leave town on a bit of an expedition, and I heard that we were still needing some able-bodied fighting sorts, and I was wondering if you're in the market for a quick little bit of an adventure.
Well, if there's more of this. And I jingle the bag.
Oh, aye. There's plenty more. This mission here's being bankrolled by the folks in the offices here and in the offices over in Tumgrove.
I'll take you up on that. I don't have anything else to do.
That sounds like a fine job to me. And he reaches one big dwarvish paw across the table to you.
I reach my smaller and slightly wispy hand towards you.
And you shake hands.
Well, I've paid for 2 weeks, so I'm going to go sleep.
We'll be leaving in the morning.
All right, I'll take a 10-minute rest. Where shall I meet you?
I'll meet you in Tumgrove, in the Miner's Pick.
No idea what you said, but I'm writing Tom Grove.
Tumgrove. It's a town a wee bit north of here. It's where the filthy, infernal mining companies set up to do business.
Wait, so you want me to meet you a wee bit away?
When I
tomorrow?
say it's a wee bit away, it's a day's journey. I was setting out in the morning and I was hoping you'd walk with me.
Oh.
The roads between here and there aren't the safest places in the world, but they're not going to kill you.
You've got that right. Well, I guess. Allow me to say my goodbyes to Dane, would you?
Of course, I didn't realize there was something going on there.
Oh, no, there's not. I just, I'll be back momentarily. Just wait here and I'll walk with you.
Right, can I get another drink?
I'm going to go find Dane first.
All right. You find her at this time of night. She's mostly just cleaning things up.
Well, Dane, I wanted to express my deepest thanks for what you did for me the other day. I don't often get into messy scuffles, but you definitely helped me out, so I just wanted to thank you.
Well, I'm just glad you're feeling better already.
Well, thank you.
Are you going to be leaving?
Yes, and that's exactly why I wanted to come over and say thank you. I don't know if I'll be seeing you again anytime soon, but I appreciate everything.
Oh, well, if you ever come back through town, the Cheery Martin would be glad to have you back.
Sounds wonderful. Do you happen to know where Esmeralda is?
I think she's in the back, probably counting down the day's earnings.
Wonderful. All right. Do you mind if I step back there and?
I'll go fetch her.
Are you? No, don't worry. I can.
Is she going to stop me? Or?
Yeah, if you're trying to go into the back, she's like, I'll go get her.
All right, I don't want to seem like that much of a jerk.
All right, just send her out here as soon as you can.
Just imagining from my past history working in retail, a customer being like, hey, is it cool if I go chat with the manager while they're counting down the drawer?
This is a different world. Anyway, Esmeralda.
Yes, so Dane rushes off into the back, and a couple minutes later, Esmeralda comes out, and she's like, you wanted to speak with me?
Yes, I wanted to express my thanks for your hospitality the other night, and I just wanted to make sure that we did not cut any ties for possibly the future. Now, I mentioned to Dane that I probably would not be returning, but who knows, I may be back.
And I hand her another gold.
She takes the gold and kind of looks at it suspiciously for a moment, and then looks at you and is like, well, if you ever come back to the Cheery Martin, know that we'll have a bed ready for you.
Thank you. You know the room that I was in earlier? Watch out for weasels. I thought I heard something last night.
Right, well, I'll look into it.
They're not like martins, nothing like those.
Right, just weasels. All right, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Does she have any gold in her hands, besides the one I just gave her?
No, just the one you gave her.
Darn. Okay. I'm going to walk back to Delvin.
Okay.
All right. I've made my goodbyes. I'm ready to walk if you are.
6 o'clock in the night.
You said...
You said in the morning.
You said meet you there in the morning.
I said meet me here and we'll walk in the morning.
You did not make that clear. That's why I said goodbye. don't know how this is going to work out in the future.
Let's just imagine that all of that happened in the morning, and it's morning now.
You've got a strange imagination, young dwarf man.
Or, I mean, we could just set out in the night. You seem like the sort who wouldn't mind walking in the dark.
If we do that, you might not see me.
You just gotta run away.
No, I melt into the darkness.
Oh, that sounds like a condition.
I've had it checked out, but most of them end up dead. I mean, I haven't seen anybody about it, but... fine, I'll go to bed.
So this unlikely companionship lasts for a day. Until you reach Tomgrove. How do you think, like, do you guys, like, have conversation on the way, or is it just, like, this uneasy sort of just, like, we tolerate each other?
Minimal conversation. Every once in a while, he will start, I'm assuming, just something, and it will end within roughly 2 minutes.
I can see that.
It seems to be what Zephear is good at. I have only mentioned that name twice during this entire session.
Well, I know who you are, and you know who you are. And the audience knows who you are. They're on, like, what, episode 15?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure as we are reaching Tomgrove. Is it Grove or Grove?
Grove.
Grove.
Gruv.
Just going to leave the V in my notes. I mean, the E in my notes. I will mention to him, Delvin Erickson?
Aye.
I forgot what your last name was, and in my head it's all scribbles. I only need to know names once, and, most of the time they're gone after that. I just wanted to let you know my name is Zephear. Zephear Wren, if you need to, not name drop, but find me later.
And he looks at you, looks back at the 20 miles that you've just trekked together, reaches out to shake your hand. It's a pleasure to meet you.
I shake hesitantly, and we didn't just make a deal.
It's a thing we do. Dwarves,
we met
shake
each
hands.
other a week ago. Don't worry about it.
It's a bit of a thing that I do. I'm sarcastic.
Oh. I see. Right.
I'll just start prefixing all my sarcasm with sarcasm, and then I'll say something sarcastic.
Well, you don't have to worry about that from me, because everything I say is more or less sarcastic.
Not
sarcasm? I can tell. And he starts walking into town.
Wait, how does that work? He sarcastically says that he can tell. All right, I hobble behind him.
So you head into Tomgrove, and just a quick description of the town here. We'll get into a little bit more details with the rest of the group. But as you're approaching Tomgrove, it seems to be split into like 2 different areas. There's like the nicer part of town that is like brick-made dwellings, cut stone, stuff like that. And then there's a portion of town closer to the mine that's like a shanty town, basically, just like shacks and older buildings that are kind of falling apart. You see in the streets, kind of walking around, there are men wearing like burgundy and gold uniforms, and they have like strange items they've held. Are you trained in crafting, perchance?
I don't believe so.
Or society?
No, neither.
Okay, so they're holding like some kind of like, I don't know, sticks. They're like brandishing them, but you wouldn't know what they are. Zephear wouldn't know what they are.
Those are some nice sticks.
You, Petite, would know that they are rifles.
Boom sticks.
Yes, quite.
So, what's with all these burgundy and gold men?
Company men. They worked for the Infernal Mining Company, and he spits on the ground.
Now, is Infernal your name for it, or their name?
It's their name. You don't even have to try hard to insult these people.
Interesting, they insult themselves.
Well, they're allies of hell.
excuse me, what?
Of hell.
Hell?
Hell.
Oh. All right.
And as he's saying this, like an imp goes walking by on the road, and he's wearing like a little hat on his head, and he just looks at you and he's like, "Hey, show you, yeah!" And he keeps walking.
You know, I'm small too, so I don't know how small the imp was.
Smaller than you.
Smaller than me. How small is Dulvin?
Taller than you. He's like...
I'm a great reference point here. I'm like a banana.
He's like 4'5".
Banana for scale.
I'm going to have to start doing that with a Zephear for scale.
I am, for reference, 6 bananas.
You're gonna looking up how long a banana is.
I mean, it varies. I want to say probably 6 inches, 6 or 7.
Yeah, the average banana is 7 to 8 inches.
7 to 8 inches.
So I'm getting like 6 to 7 bananas.
I mean,
that's amazing.
I am great at banana approximation. Not gonna lie. You can just put that on my resume.
So with this,
right next to my sniffing what time it is.
So this approximately 6 to 7 banana tall fellow and a maybe 8 to 9 banana tall fellow head towards the miner's pick, which is the inn that's a little bit closer to the mine down in like the shanty part of town. And Dulvin's like, "I paid for your room here. The caravan will be leaving in a week. I'll introduce you to the folks in the morning."
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to run through while we're in this town? I figure you have things to tend to.
Right. I'll give you a rundown of more of the specifics of the job that I didn't cover on the walk in the morning, well, off air, as it were.
Well, I'm going to take my 6 to 7 bananas and rest.
Is that a phrase your sort of people use?
Oh, yes, all the time. Just with sniffing the time as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarcasm. I understand perfectly.
You'll get used to it, I'm sure.
Are we going into the miner's pick to we're going to meet in the morning?
Yeah, you're going to meet up with the rest of the caravan that's assembled in the morning.
Okay.
But he's already purchased lodgings as like part of this whole expedition.
So I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Nice. I'm glad that I gave away 4 gold. I don't know how much gold I have left over because I forgot.
Started with 10.
Well, I know that I used one of the packs on.
Oh, well, if you're starting overall, then you started with 15 purchase stuff, but like in this prologue, you had 10 and you've used up 4.
I have 5 left over, 8 silver. So 5 plus 6 is 11.
That's pretty good.
I have 11 gold.
Yeah. So anything you want to do before you turn in for the night?
Get to know the miner's pick staff. Not the boomsticks. I do not want to get to know staffs as in boomsticks.
So there's not a lot of staff, actually. There is the proprietor, Clement Tormson. He is an Ulfin man who claims direct descent from the mining town's founder, although he has been unable to produce evidence of this claim. He is a well-built man with many muscles, and proudly informs you that he has never had to employ a bouncer.
Well, then I guess I won't offer my services.
Won't be necessary. And he kind of flexes his pecs.
What kind of grog do you have at this place?
I got the finest ale.
Ah, the finest grog.
Finest sort of grog you got. And he slams down a tankard of grog.
I'm not actually sure what grog is. I usually drink water, I'm sorry.
Well, no better time to get acquainted. And he pushes the tankard towards you.
I'll take a sip.
It is fine grog.
It is fine grog.
It's got a good kick, kind of a really like, what's the word? A bitter flavor to it, but there's also like a bit of a spice, a kick from something. You're not sure what.
This is some fine grog.
Isn't it? And he drinks the whole tankard himself.
That was my tankard.
He gives you a new tankard.
I don't have to pay for this, right?
No, I drank your first one.
I don't have to pay for this one either, right?
First one's free. Second one is free because I drank the first one.
All right. Cheers. I'm going to go and sit over there now. And I'll turn in for the night.
After I finish my tankard.
All right. So you finish your replacement-free tankard of grog.
Yes.
And you head up the stairs. The room that you're provided with is not quite as nice, unfortunately, as the Cheery Martin, but it's still functional.
Possibly
got a nice, it's solidly constructed. There's a bed, which in a lot of these like small town taverns and inns and stuff, a bed is not necessarily a done deal. A lot of times there's just like, oh yeah, here's a space where you're allowed to lay out your bedroll.
Is there a full Bible or just a New Testament?
There is just a New Testament, but it does have Psalms and Proverbs.
Oh, beautiful. I will take my rest. I don't think there's anything. I don't feel weird about that face or anything. I don't feel it following me.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Not as you're settling into the room. And not as you're beginning to put your possessions together and such. But just as you're getting ready to settle in for the night, you just suddenly have like an oppressive sense of not being alone.
I told them no weasels.
You kind of feel like whatever it is behind you.
Slowly turn around while reaching for my dagger.
As you turn around, you see a figure on the opposite side of the room from you. This room is not a big room, but the ceilings are reasonably tall. This figure is kind of standing stock straight with its head kind of crooked to the side, otherwise it wouldn't fit in the room. It has the top hat that I mentioned earlier, and just like a pale face that is just straight up grinning at you. It's dressed in like a multicolored pinstripe suit, and it's just got lanky arms just like hanging at its side. And as it notices you seeing it, its grin just spreads even wider.
I'm going to chuck my dagger in its direction.
As you chuck the dagger, this thing just completely vanishes, and the dagger just stabs into the wall right behind where it was standing.
Well, at least I know my aim is still good.
Who's there? I saw you. Show yourself.
There doesn't seem to be any response.
Where are you, you demon? You're not the one that hides in the shadows. I am. If you think you can scare me, you're wrong.
Imagine we kind of cut to a low angle as we're like looking at Zephyr's face with like a lamp in the foreground of the shot, as like the flame in the lamp is kind of flickering a bit. But otherwise the room remains still and quiet.
Now that I've seen it, I'm definitely on edge. I don't know how well I will sleep tonight.
I imagine that you might kind of investigate the room a little bit.
I will investigate as I go to retrieve my dagger.
Go ahead and make me a perception check.
A whole 5.
With a 5, you know that you've searched better, but you know you're shaken. You're not doing your best.
I'm shaken. I'm tired. I don't like this.
Yeah. You're not finding any evidence of anything having been there. And just as you're like starting to doubt, like, were you just seeing things? Is this just your imagination? You notice the door is unlocked, but you know 100% for sure that you locked the door when you came into your room.
Have I retrieved my dagger at this point?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep it in my hand as I creep towards the door. I don't see anything else in the corners of the room.
No.
It's very dimly lit.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I'm going to go to that door and lock it again. Possibly, are there any chairs or any furniture that I can move against the door?
Yeah.
Does it open in?
Yes, it opens inward. So there's a chair that you can use and just kind of prop to keep the door shut.
I'm going to lodge it try to do that as best while still wielding my knife. This music is kind of really hyping this up. And I'm going to try to keep the door closed and locked and lodged and keep my eyes on it.
And I think that's where we'll end this.
What?
This has been an Atomic Broadcasting production. Pathfinder, Galarian, and the Lost Omens world setting are copyright of Paizo. More information at paizo.com. Music in the show is from Monument Studios' collection, as well as assorted artists with some original tracks composed by Jordy Hake. More details in the description. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to share with a friend, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Oh, man, now I've got to have squeezing in this campaign.
Oh, gosh. What a weird thing to say. Now I have to, put that in the no context. Now I need squeezing in this campaign.
We are officially already recording.
Oh.